He was born on a windswept island in the Mediterranean, his voice marked by a Corsican accent that set him apart from his noble-born classmates. Mocked and underestimated, Napoleon Bonaparte seemed destined for obscurity. But beneath the ridicule burned an ambition as fierce as any the world had seen. By the age of 35, he would not only rise above his humble beginnings, he would seize the crown and become Emperor of the French. This is the electrifying story of Napoleon's meteoric ascent, a tale of risk, brilliance, ambition, and the unstoppable will to shape history itself. Napoleon Bonaparte was born on August 15, 1769, in Ajaccio, Corsica, an island recently purchased by France from the Republic of Genoa. His family belonged to minor Italian nobility, but they weren't wealthy. His father, Carlo Bonaparte, was a lawyer and political opportunist who managed to secure his children spots in elite French institutions, including military schools. Napoleon's early days in France were marked by struggle and isolation. More comfortable in Corsican and Italian than in French, he became the target of cruel taunts for his accent and modest upbringing. But what his peers failed to see was the intensity of his mind, a mind that saw the world as a battlefield waiting to be conquered. While others played, Napoleon pored over the exploits of Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, and Frederick the Great, mapping out imaginary campaigns in his notebooks. His focus was razor-sharp, his ambition limitless. When the French Revolution erupted in 1789, Napoleon was just 20. A young man coming of age in a world turned upside down. The streets of Paris ran red, monarchs lost their crowns and their heads, and the old order crumbled in the chaos. Across Europe, thrones trembled as France declared war on nearly every neighbor. For many, it was a time of terror. For Napoleon, it was the opening act to his destiny. But where others saw only danger and disorder, Napoleon saw his chance. This chaos was his gateway to greatness. As a young artillery officer, he proved himself during the siege of Toulon in 1793, helping to drive out British forces from a key port city. At just 24, he was promoted to brigadier general, an astonishing leap for someone so young. But his rise stalled as factions within the revolutionary government fought for control. Then came 13 Vendémiaire, October 5, 1795. Royalist forces threatened to topple the revolutionary government in Paris. The desperate regime turned to Napoleon. He responded with a whiff of grape shot, using cannon fire to brutally crush the uprising in the streets of Paris. The government was saved. Napoleon was hailed as a hero. In 1796, Napoleon was given command of the French army of Italy, a ragtag force low on morale, equipment, and pay. What he did next would stun the continent of Europe. With audacious speed and daring, Napoleon waged lightning campaigns across northern Italy, outmaneuvering and overwhelming the Austrian and Allied armies. At Lodi, Arcole, and Rivoli, he wasn't just a commander issuing orders from afar. He led his men from the front, charging across bridges under a hail of bullets, igniting awe and fierce loyalty among his soldiers. He didn't just win battles. He revolutionized warfare itself. Mobility, surprise, and relentless momentum became his trademarks, and Napoleon was as skilled with words as with weapons. Through stirring proclamations and a savvy use of the press, he cast himself as the savior of France, a genius championing the Republic. By 1797, Napoleon had forced Austria to sue for peace and dictated the terms of the Treaty of Campo Formio. He returned to Paris, a national hero, the man of the moment. Yet Napoleon's hunger for glory could not be sated by European triumphs alone. He set his sights on Britain, France's age-old nemesis, devising a bold plan to threaten its lifeline to India, the conquest of Egypt. In 1798, he sailed with a massive army and scientific corps to the east. His army won a dazzling victory at the Battle of the Pyramids, defeating the Mamluks and occupying Cairo. He brought scholars to study ancient ruins, and from this expedition came the Rosetta Stone, key to deciphering Egyptian hieroglyphs. But then came disaster. But disaster struck at Abu Qir Bay, where Admiral Horatio Nelson's fleet shattered the French navy, stranding Napoleon and his men in Egypt. Surrounded by Ottoman and British forces, his grand adventure turned into a trap. Refusing to let defeat tarnish his legend, Napoleon made a daring escape. Leaving his army behind, he raced back to France, ready for his next act. Back in France, the Directory, the ruling five-man government, was on shaky ground. Corruption, inflation, and endless war had turned public opinion sour. Sensing opportunity, Napoleon joined a conspiracy with key political figures, including Emmanuel Sieyès, to overthrow the Directory. The result was the coup of 18 Brumaire, November 9, 1799. At first, the coup was chaotic. Napoleon faced resistance in the legislative councils. Some even shouted, "Down with the tyrant!" But with the help of his loyal brother Lucien and the military, he forced the politicians out and dissolved the Directory. From the ashes of the Directory, a new government emerged, the Consulate, and at its head, First Consul Napoleon Bonaparte, a position with near dictatorial powers. As First Consul, Napoleon didn't just rely on the sword. He knew that to solidify power, he had to stabilize France. He reorganized the administration, stabilized the currency, made peace with the Catholic Church through the Concordat of 1801, and built a centralized bureaucracy based on merit, not noble birth. Most importantly, he introduced the Napoleonic Code in 1804, a civil law code that remains influential to this day. It guaranteed legal equality, property rights, and the secular state. Though it restricted women's rights, it brought lasting legal clarity to post-revolutionary France. The French people, weary of chaos, saw order and prosperity returning, and Napoleon, once an outcast, became the nation's brightest star. By 1804, power was no accident. It was the product of a restless mind, endless ambition, and perfect timing. The French Revolution had torn down the old order, but it was Napoleon who built something new in its place. He was both a child of the revolution and its destroyer. He promised liberty, but ruled with an iron hand. He inspired millions, yet led them into years of war. His journey from a provincial Corsican outsider to emperor and ruler of Europe remains one of history's most astonishing and inspiring epics. And it all began with a lonely, determined boy who devoured tales of Julius Caesar and dared to believe he could do even more. From the windswept shores of Corsica to the dazzling heights of an empire, Napoleon's journey blazed with danger, determination, and breathtaking ambition. Every chapter of his rise crackled with drama and daring, proving that the extraordinary is possible when you refuse to accept limits. And this is just the start of an adventure that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Did Napoleon's incredible odyssey fire up your imagination? Show your excitement, smash that like button, and help us bring even more legendary tales to life. Don't forget to subscribe for a front row seat to thrilling stories that shaped our world, and ring the bell so you never miss the next epic adventure. Which epic moment from Napoleon's life should we uncover next? Drop your ideas in the comments. We want to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring the extraordinary stories that shaped history.